let's go to it, shall we? We shall. How did Joe Biden leave America on his last day in office, and what do we have today? Because a lot of people will not talk about Joe Biden. You have to talk about Joe Biden, who was the last Democrat president. So this is Late Night Baltimore. Biden was a friend of Baltimore. No podcast left or right has the guts to look at this cold, hard numbers. But we shall. Let's start with that. Let's start with the border and how Trump fixed it. And look, the numbers do not lie. The southwest border and count crossovers are at historic lows. That cannot be argued. Under Biden in his final month, the daily United States Border Patrol apprehensions averaged about 2,600. Now they are down. It could be between 58 to 95% month to month, with March 2026 seeing just 8,268 total Southwest apprehensions. That's 97% below Biden's peak. This is the lowest level in over 50 years. It's a fair point. Biden's saying in a debate that we would be open to anyone seeking political asylum. And that is what so-called experts point to the reason why there was such a rush to get here, that people could come here and get themselves in line by saying they were seeking political asylum. MAGA can argue that point. Biden's approach to asylum processing, humanitarian parole, and targeted enforcement did not launch mass deportations into third countries that were not the migrants' home nations. It did not turn ICE into the out-of-control deportation machine we are seeing now. Biden focused on the root causes and legal pathways. The chaos under the Biden border was real, but the Trump solution traded a crisis for an inhumane, expensive, and still not addressing the broken system. Joe Biden never built concentration camps, aka Alligator Alcatraz, or filled up detention centers with people gathered up by masked paramilitary ICE workers. We have now, if that's the trade-off that you think is positive in the long run, then there's nothing that can be said for that. Moving a lot of Americans who are actually American citizens. I would prefer greatly Joe Biden's way. In fact, I would prefer that amnesty be offered to people so that they can come out of the shadows and begin the process of getting in line and become citizens. Biden never tried to argue against something that is so fundamental to American values that it's just like a pillar of everything we believe in. Birthright citizenship. If you are born in this country, you are an American citizen. That is what makes America great, and that is part of immigration policy and Trump pursuing the end of that birthright citizenship, so you can retroactively remove people from the country by saying that they never were citizens. Foreign policy. Biden's last day in office, America was the rock-solid backbone of NATO. We were arming Ukraine to push back Russian aggression without a single American boot on the ground. No new war, no escalations, just helping Ukraine fight back the aggression of Russia, which is also a fundamental tradition for the last century. The one that all these Republicans used to say made President Reagan, President Bush so great because of their fighting Russian aggression. For some reason, they have to think they're sort of on the side of Russia and Putin, whether they say it or not. They're okay with Ukraine being taken. Biden had to make the courageous choice that George W. didn't, President Obama didn't, and Trump definitely didn't, but said he was going to, getting us out of Afghanistan. No other president had the fortitude to do it. was no way you could win. There was no way it would go well. And it's no way you wouldn't take a huge political hit. But it was the right thing to finally do to end the 20-year involvement with Afghanistan. Trump has started a war with Iran. Trump threatened Iran's civilization will be ended if they do not comply. As horrible as it is to think, America might actually be losing the conflict because of the price we are paying. Remember the Venezuelan fishing boats? It never showed any evidence that they were doing something against America. They also did a double tap. And speaking of double tap, I do not believe that Biden ever ordered double taps against fishermen out in the ocean or school children in a school in Iran, all authorized by the Department of Defense. Well, it was the Department of Defense. Now they want to call it the Department of War. The Trump people do to pretend a fake machismo, where things like the Geneva Conventions are just suggestions more than any kind of rule or any kind of moral guidepost. Biden kept us out of these direct conflicts while standing with our allies. Trump touted being an isolationist, but he's gotten us into several foreign entanglements. We know the Venezuela attack made Trump much richer, so I guess that was positive, at least for that one American. Biden administration did not do enough to temper Netanyahu's insatiable cruelty beyond just defending. But look at what Netanyahu has done since Trump came into power. Netanyahu tried to talk Biden into attacking and bombing Iran. Biden would not bomb, but was part of the peace deal made when he was vice president under President Obama. The deal that Trump tore up. Now we'll go to the economy. The deficit on Biden's last day. The deficit closed around 1.78 trillion. He was dealing with the end of COVID. Just as in Trump's first term, COVID has to be factored in. But under Trump now, the CBO projects fiscal year 2026 at 1.85, 1.9 trillion. The checks haven't come due on all these cuts that were made. And now Trump is asking for, I believe, a 50% increase in the defense budget. So this deficit is going to go to places that no one even foresaw. So much for the fiscal responsibility that we're going to have with a businessman as president. And Biden was dealing with a lot of the healthcare expenses from COVID, and fairly Trump was as well at the end of his term. Prices and inflation, go to that. Biden handed off an economy where inflation had cooled to about 3% by January of 2025 after the post-pandemic spike. Grocery prices and energy prices were stabilizing. Now, in CPI, the consumer price index jumped to 3.3%, the highest numbers since May of 2024. First, driven by energy spikes and tariff ripple effects, and with the uncertainty of the tariffs. At-home prices are still up 1.9% year over end. The carton of eggs, hey, we were promised cheap eggs, you're paying more for. Biden worked hard to improve all the supply chain. These recent wars, think now the Strait of Hormuz, have really undone any progress in that area. Infrastructure. Biden's bipartisan infrastructure law poured hundreds of billions into roads, bridges, broadband, and clean energy. Real shovel-ready projects, as they used to call them. Projects that were transforming whole communities. Projects that, another thing that Trump promised, never delivered. True infrastructure improvement. Trump was all talk when it came to infrastructure. And of course, we've gone away from all sorts of renewable energy to ignore energy policy, and clean air, clean environment, environmental protections. On Biden's last full day, trading day, was January 17th of 2025. But the national gas price was $3.10 a gallon. Today, gas is now averaging around $4.40 a gallon. So that puts it up about $1.30. Americans are spending $1.30 more per gallon than they were on Biden's last day. The country is burning about 11.5 billion gallons of gas a month, which adds up to around 15 billion extra paid by drivers nationwide in the last month or so. Per household, most folks are shelling out an extra $35 to $50 a month, depending on what they drive. So it's hitting consumer wallets hard, especially with the summer driving season. Healthcare, that beautiful, wonderful, magnificent healthcare that we were supposed to get in 2 weeks. In the last 10 years, we were going to get that healthcare plan. Been promised that in 2 weeks for the last decade. But today, the healthcare costs are higher for most. And the big driver of all the higher costs is the expiration of the enhanced ACA subsidies at the end of 2025. So it's about 23 million marketplace plan holders with subsidies are now paying $175 monthly out of pocket, and that's up $84, an increase about $91 per month, or over $1,000 more annually per person. Multiply that across millions of people, and you're looking at several $billion extra nationwide every month just on those expenses. Employer plans are now up too, around 6 to 7% higher costs this year, which usually means workers' pay is a few $100s, have to pay a few $100s more annually in their share premiums. Bottom line, healthcare insurance is costing American households noticeably more now than on Biden's last day, especially if you buy your own plan. The subsidy clip hit home. USAID. Biden kept America as the world's humanitarian leader. Trump dismantled it, even though USAID has always been looked at as one of the more efficient, cost-benefit programs the government has ever had. Last year, the United States official development assistance budget dropped to less than $29 billion, down from $63 billion in 2024. So that is not efficiency. That is not justice. That is walking away from the global health, food security, and stability to prevent crisis from coming here to this country. All right, Biden left us at a 4% unemployment percent, a steady GDP growth, about 3% in his later years. Violent crime was dropping sharply from 2022 peak, and the declines were continuing through 24 and into 2025. Stock market is much higher now, but it was much higher than it had been prior to Joe Biden taking office. And yes, a lot of that has to do with COVID, barely. Unemployment today is about 4.3%. The GDP growth is slowed to 2.1% in 2025 and 2% in the first quarter of 2026. Crime is still falling. That's good. But the trend, let's be fair, the trend began under Joe Biden. The MAGA people would say that Trump's great superiority. It's an amount of communication, his speeches, his social media. Yes, he does a lot more speeches and he puts a lot more out on social media than Joe Biden himself did. And in press conferences, also talking to the press. That is all fair. His quantity is a great deal more. But he isn't delivering facts or truth or honesty with the American people. He's out there saying scary and harmful and destructive things. Biden never threatened to end a civilization. And as far as access, Trump has restricted press access. Biden never had to be removed from a war room because he was unable to control a temper tantrum. No generals in the Biden era, as far as we know, had to tell him that dropping nukes was something we could not consider. The transition of power. Biden handled it about as smoothly as he could. No lies about stolen elections, no January 6th, just a peaceful handoff, the way it's supposed to be done in America, why we're so proud, why we are supposed to be the shining city on a hill. Biden did not spend the day of certification day in his office watching TV and rooting for an attack on the Capitol, the January 6th attack, which was an insurrection. And as a matter of fact, it was a successful insurrection in that it actually did delay the peaceful transfer of power, because the constitutional procedure of certification was delayed for hours and done late into the night, hours after it was supposed to have been done. Not to mention that law officers died from that day. And but Trump continues to lie about that election. He lies about it even though everyone knows he knows that it was not a cheat, massive cheat, wasn't a cheat at all. It's odd, and here's something that nobody points out much, but the logic in MAGA is that the same people who orchestrated an election steal when they were out of office couldn't do the same when they were in office. Somehow, there was nothing wrong with the 2024 election. It was all on the up and up. Why? Because Trump got the votes. That's weird how that works, huh? He didn't say one thing about it. The only thing, he had one sentence answer to that question, which was almost never asked, and too big to rig. What does that mean? He didn't even get over 50% of the popular vote. More people who voted that day or for election, more people, more American citizens voted for someone other than Trump in 2024. Biden didn't work to end the Voting Rights Act, which is what Trump has done. Biden himself did not try the stunt Trump has done with Texas, the grab in Texas for more seats in Congress, because he knows, or he fears, the results of midterms may not be to his liking. Joe Biden never sent National Guard people who were National Guard of one state, a red state, to deployed into a blue state. And I use those finger quotes. I don't believe that Joe Biden ever talked about blue and red states as real things. He may have talked about it when he would say America is not blue and red states, it's all America. Numbers at the border look better under Trump, but at the expense of humanity and long-term stability. Prices, healthcare, alliances, infrastructure, fiscal reality, basic decency, respect in the world, moral power in the world, moral voice in the world. It's all stronger, more authentic and real under Joe Biden, President Joe Biden. Under Biden, we were trying to build a future, not sell it out. I would like you to try to say that Trump is not declining rapidly, and Trump is not displaying what appears to be dementia and in fact great physical decline as he ages as Biden did. We have to give Joe Biden the credit that he deserves. Donald Trump is still talking about Joe Biden. For Joe Biden being so sleepy, you sure made an impression on Donald Trump. Donald Trump is always given credit for getting through these attempts. But no one brings up that Biden walked under the streets of Kiev next to Zelensky out onto the streets while the sirens of bombing alerts were going on. No one ever remembers that. When Biden wanted a great America, an America with accessible health care for all, equal protection under the law, an American democracy thriving in all its glory, one that continued to try to right itself and the flaws that it would discover in itself by looking at itself, to make America better. And let's say make America great, keep America great. Trump literally destroyed the White House, like physically destroyed half of the White House. He seems to only care about the ballroom and getting himself rich and helping his oligarch friends. His long documented social ties to Epstein are all part of the public record. These ties with Epstein have raised fundamental questions about judgment and accountability, what powerful people can get away with when the spotlight turns elsewhere. In your heart of hearts, do you really think that Biden doing things to help his son deal with a drug problem, that's really what he did? Do you think that equates with Trump selling a coin with his image to make $3 billion, giving his own son a $25 million government contract, to give pardons out to all his criminal friends? If you're comfortable with saying that Biden and Trump, or Biden and Harris and Trump are equally corrupt, equally trying to enrich themselves from their office, that they equally treated people with the same level of compassion, and that if you're comfortable with saying that, or if you feel that Trump's team of Hegseth, Patel, Bondi, and Blanche are of the same merit of the people that work for Joe Biden, if that's what you want to say, then so be that as well. Trump's party has the courts, the Congress, the White House, corporate media, big tech, and look at where we are. All right, we will speak to you next time. From Late Night Baltimore, I will say, good Saturday night.
Big Rooster.